We have got 10 days of northeasterly winds coming through, and you know what that means? All this dirty water that we have seen over this past week, over this past 2 weeks, is bound to get clear, and that is going to bring the fish in. The water is going to get a lot colder, so we're going to get a lot more non edibles. Guys, welcome to this week's show, and I got to tell you, there has been fish coming out, irrespective of how challenging it has been to fish over all this debris that we have in the water. Guys, this week on the KZN Fishing Report, we have got lots of skates, lots of gray sharks, some big shad, and the freshwater is looking rather fantastic as well. So we're going to get into all of it. I'm obviously not on the beach this week, tied down with work, but I did have my reporters send through all the information, and we will get into all of it. But before we do, huge shout out to our sponsor, the Kingfisher. They are the ones that are responsible for getting us this content. So guys, as always, support those that support you, and in this case, the Kingfisher. Now let's kick it off down the south coast, where Adam has reported once again it is Groundhog Day, guys. The water is dirty, it is brown, it is actually chocolate brown throughout the whole stretch of beach down the south coast, all the way from Port Edward right down to the block. That's all you can see is that chocolate water. However, there has been a couple non-eds coming out, and that has included some skates and sand sharks, and virtually hardly any signs of edible fish. And that's purely because the guys have been hardly fishing the area over this past week. It's been majority rainy days, and then the water conditions just wasn't in favor for it. However, in saying that, what Adam did say is where there is a bit of clear water, if you can find a hole, go and put a bait. Guys did get a couple bites, but nothing worth bragging about, apart from these images that we can see right here.
Hi there, Vinesh. Hope you're doing well, bud. So as you can see, things are looking a bit flat and a bit smooth down here at Manaba. Got a little bit of brown water here, as you can see, just the waves very much full of sand and mud, absolute mud. But nice sort of calm sea, a bit of blue right in the back there, but things just not looking too good at the moment. Even right down the bottom to Beacons, just really not too great, as you can see. A couple of big rollers coming in now and again, but yeah, it's a bit of a flat spot here and there, but water conditions just really aren't good. As you can see by that, it's just brown. But otherwise, let's see what the weather holds for this weekend, Vinesh. Hopefully we get a bit more of a westerly blowing. Might just calm the seas down even a bit more and maybe just settle that mud. Might just go away, hopefully, Vinesh. Anyway, chat soon.
Now, moving on down to Warner Beach and Amanzimtoti, Gary has reported the sea is looking good. It is looking dirty. Also, once again, that brownish water, but the conditions are fishable, especially if you can go find those points and put a big bait out with a deep shot. You definitely would be rewarded. But once again, this week's reports didn't come through with too many catches because there just weren't too many anglers out there fishing. Now, moving on down to Durban, well, there it has been a lot more positive, as it usually is. Now, let's start off with the Durban Harbor. There has been some granted, there has been some salmon, but the water is really dirty, guys. I mean, dark brown water. So, very challenging conditions, and you're not going to get any kingfish or springer. They obviously moved away to where the water is a bit cleaner. However, speaking about where the water is a bit cleaner, guys, the Durban beaches are dirty, lots of debris in the water, but there are a few pockets where it is clean, and in those pockets, the guys were certainly rewarded. On your edible side, there has been grunter and stumpies, and of course, that shad. But the non-eds, they definitely have been on the bite. And the catches that were coming out were gray sharks, sand sharks, diamonds, honeycombs. So a few non-edibles coming out, which has been really good to see because, yeah, like we said, it hasn't been the greatest of weeks to fish. However, on your offshore side, the guys that did go out quite deep were certainly rewarded. There's been snook, there's been kuta, and there has been some tuna. There were even 2 reports of bullfish that has come out. And if you're fishing a bit closer, well, Brad has reported the bottom fish has been quite spectacular at the moment as well. Moving up the north coast, all you're going to get is a bit of cob. Tugela, Tongat, Blightdale, Zinkwazi, there has been just cob among in that dirty water. I didn't get too much other reports of apart from a few diamonds that has come out. And if you're looking for shad, some real nice size shad, some big ones, well, that was coming out at Shaka's High Rock on the first light. Further up, Richards Bay and St. Lucia, a couple in edibles. On your offshore side, there has been some tuna, there has been some cruiser, and of course, yes, once again, there is still that bullfish season going on. If you are targeting fish up at the Midlands area, guys, lots of rainfall. The dams are full, the dams are overflowing, which is very good to see. And here, because we do expect a drought later on in this year, so if we can get those catchment areas filled up right now, that's exactly what we need. As for the fishing side, there has been some bass. Midmar and Albert Falls did get a couple reports of them coming out. Obviously, the private dams has produced the fish. Carp, here and there, we did get some reports that there has been some carp coming up, but nothing too thick. Same with the barbel species. As for your trout, well, the Stillwater has been a little quieter than the riverside. So river fishing for the trout has definitely been on, and Sturkey is certainly performing. We do know obviously with this rain, there's been a lot of dams that are overflowing. So guys, when you're walking those rivers, make sure small steps, do not lift your feet up too high or you will have an accident. So yeah, just be careful when you are fishing those rivers. The fish are out there. So the Midlands is looking good. And if you're out for that saltwater side, well, the better days are coming. Like we said, we've got 10 days of northeasterly. That dirty water is going to clear. The debris is going to open up. The water is going to get a lot cooler. The non-eds are going to be getting rod screaming throughout the entire coastline. And it's certainly bound to bring some edibles around. So predicted fishing coming up, it's going to be absolutely fantastic from this weekend, which means when you're out there, you are going to have a great time. But always remember, keep that fishing area tidy, respect your bag limits, and fish for the future.